Okay, to end off the pre-algebra section, so far we've done algebraic, word problems, expressions. We did simplifying polynomials, multiplying polynomials. Today we're doing dividing polynomials, and that should wrap up our pre-algebra to launch us into the next subject, which is, not next subject, but the next lesson, which is straight algebra, which is solving equations and all this and all that. But we still got this hurdle to get through, which is dividing polynomials. So multiplying polynomials, which was the lesson that we did prior to this video, we did 2x squared y4. And let's just do a simple one times 3x xyz 4, 2. It's fine. Boom. How did we multiply these two terms, these two polynomials? If you recall, you would multiply the numbers, 6, and then you'd start adding any matching variables. You start adding the powers of those variables. So 2 plus 2 equals the x to the power of 4. Y to the power of 4, y to the power of that invisible 1 gives me 5. And then any non-matching letters just gets brought down exactly the way it is, and that was that, right? Dividing is the opposite of multiplication. So the way to solve it is just simple and similar, but different at the same time. And the look obviously is different. Over here, this was multiplication, not because there's a dot, not because there's a little times table, is because the new symbol for multiplication is parentheses. Either the first term has it or doesn't, it doesn't matter. Two terms next to each other with parentheses means multiplication. In dividing world, again, you are no longer going to see the division sign like that, or that's the square root, or the division sign like this, 9 divided by 3. That doesn't exist. Division in algebra and math is shown via fractions. So you're going to get something that looks along the lines like this. So here is your first division of polynomial problem. How do we solve this? Well, let's just look at the first case. It's similar to multiplication in terms of like this. You start with the numbers. So this is what we're going to do. We are going to divide the numbers. So 8, this one right here, what are you going to divide to? Well, that's what this symbol is. The fraction symbol is division. It is saying 8 divided by 2. So that's what we need to do. 8 divided by 2, what do we get? What we get is 4. And again, calculator, always pull it up, always have it handy. Oh, I put multiplication, 8 divided by 2 gives me my 4. Calculator is going to obviously be handy, especially when you're dealing with negatives or fractions or decimals or whatever, right? So make sure you download the calculator from the video from the first module of how to download the GED calculator. So now comes our first thing. In this example, the bottom term, the one that everything's getting divided by, does not have a variable. So these ones are super easy. Just like prior, remember how here there was a z and there was no z, so it just got brought down. Sort of the same thing. If you don't see no variable here, no x, no nothing, you just bring it over. Not a big deal. Bring it over exactly the way it is. And then here we do the same thing. -6 divided by 2. Everything at the top always gets divided by everything at the bottom. So -6 divided by 2, that gives me my -3. And just like that, we solved it, right? That's for this first example, my friends. So let's switch it up a bit. Let's say we have something similar, but just a little different. So in this, it's going to be its own, what's it called? what's it called? What's it called? What's it called? Division problem. So here we have this. If you notice here, the bottom term, the one that everything should get divided by, has a variable. So these are the ones that are confusing at first for people, but then they get it because they realize it's oddly similar to the multiplication ones, just opposite. This is what I mean. You still stick with the number 12 divided by 3. What do we get? We end up getting 4. But now we're dealing with this, x cubed divided by x. What do you do here? So in the multiplication world, whenever we had matching numbers, here we would, like in this case, the x squared times x squared, we would add the powers to create x to the power 4. Well, I said opposite. What's opposite of adding? Subtraction. So even though we're dividing here, we're technically subtracting the powers. It's kind of crazy, right? Even back here, even though we were multiplying, essentially, we were adding the powers. That's what always confuses students. So here, it's going to be the same thing. This 3 from that x minus this 1. Because remember, any standalone variable is to the power of 1. So 3 minus 1, that's what gives me my x squared. And then we just do the same thing. Number first from the next term, 9 divided by 3, what do we end up getting? We end up getting a positive 3. And then x squared divided by x, essentially saying 2 minus that 1. And we end up getting just a standalone x, or x to the power of 1. You could put that down, doesn't matter, but chances are in the GD you're going to see obviously no 1. And then this is your final answer. It's essentially the same thing as multiplication. You're just focusing everything bit by bit, but now you're going more at a vertical stance because we're dealing with fractions, and you're subtracting the powers for any matching variables. That's essentially the worksheet right there. There's only one more thing you gotta know, and that's this right here. What happens when we're given a problem that looks like this? So there's a long way to solve this. What you can do is, distribute everything out, rewrite the solution, divide everything, combine anything that could be combined, then divide this and that. Or take the easy route. Sometimes they'll give you this problem just because it looks intimidating because it's so big. In reality, it's actually the easiest one of them all. If you see inside the distribution part, inside the parentheses part, if they're all matching, they're all the same, x plus 3, x plus 3, x plus 3, you could actually just eliminate those. And then that leaves the answer. X plus 2 is your final answer. Why, you ask? Don't worry about why. Just know that when you see this right here and you see 3 of the same things, just go boom, 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 and move on. That's my little trick to you. One little side note I want to tell everybody is, from this point forward, we learn adding and subtracting and multiplying and now dividing of polynomials. We learn how to master each of them, but like I said in the previous video, everything's going to be mixed and matched, not only from this point forward, but definitely on the GED. So what they could give you is a combination of all the stuff that we were given. If they give you this, what would we do in this situation? I see a whole bunch of stuff right now. This is going to be what's to come from this point forward, a combination of everything. Here you got to be aware that there is distribution and there is division, and then I'm pretty sure once those get simplified down, there's going to be a simple combine like terms, which is the adding and subtracting. For instance, if we were to do this one, we would get 2 minus 3x minus 9 plus x minus 6. That would be a problem. Do you see why? Obviously here, that would come out to that. You guys should be a master of that and get that easily. Here, oh my god. Oh my gosh. So here, what do we do in this stage? It's simple. X2, there's a power 1. 2 minus 1 gives me my 1. The number is 1 divided by 1 gives me my invisible 1, which is still there, so no biggies there. And then the negative 6 divided by 1 again still gives me my negative 6. And the x to the power of 1, x divided by x to the power of 1, 1 minus 1 cancels it out. And that is why this one doesn't have an x, because it actually became x to the power of 0, which doesn't exist. It just disappears. That's canceling out, my friends, which there's going to be a lot of in here. So now we have this. What could we do? Well, I see a couple stuff that I could combine. I could combine the 2 with the negative 9 with the negative 6. Those are numbers. Numbers are like terms, just like any other polynomial. So what would you do? You would do with the symbols told us, 2 minus 9 minus 6. And you would take out your calculator and do that. You would do 2 minus 9 minus 6. That would give me negative 13. Then we would do this. Remaining like terms, the x's, negative 3 plus my invisible 1. That'll give me my negative 2x. And something that I did not mention in the previous videos, but hopefully you read the worksheets, is on the GED, they like to rearrange stuff. So they would rearrange this into this. They like to put polynomials ahead of any numbers, because technically the polynomial is bigger always, because you never know what number that can be. So this would be your final answer. Negative 2x, let me make this nicer, x minus 13. So this is a combination of everything, how it morphs into one problem, which the GED loves to do, so be prepared of that. But in today's specific lesson, in the worksheet that comes after this, you will be given specifically just the division, and we will see, I don't know how it look like, whether I give a quiz or a worksheet that kind of gives you stuff similar to this. A combination of all of them. If it's not up, obviously you could always message me and be like, hey, can I get one of those worksheets, or could you make one for me that has a combination of everything, because I want to master everything all at once. So hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you on the next one.